The week before finals at Stanford was a special kind of hell. Libraries remained open 24/7, caffeine consumption reached alarming levels, and even the most organized students felt the crushing weight of impending judgment. For Team Nexus, the pressure was doubled. Not only did they have individual finals to prepare for, but Professor Torres's project presentation loomed after exam week. Their viral video had created opportunities but also raised stakes. They now had an audience waiting for the actual app launch. "My brain is officially full," Noah announced, dropping his head onto his textbook. "If I memorize one more design principle, something important will fall out, like my name or how to tie shoelaces." The four had claimed a corner study room in the library's east wing. Empty coffee cups and snack wrappers littered the table, evidence of their 6-hour marathon. "You've been at it less than an hour," Devin observed without looking up from his finance textbook, perfectly arranged with color-coded tabs. "Yes, but I've been studying for other finals all day," Noah countered. "There are limits to human cognition, Williams." "Take a break," Jamie suggested, stretching in a way that momentarily distracted Nate from his algorithm's notes. "We've got all night." The reminder of their committed all-night session made Nate suppress a groan. Between project work and their living arrangement, sleep had become luxury. "I'm getting more coffee," Nate announced. "Anyone want anything?" Jamie stood immediately. "I'll come with you. My legs are cramping from sitting." Noah raised his eyebrows suggestively. "Take your time, lovebirds." Despite their now acknowledged relationships, such direct references still made Nate flush. The viral video had made things both easier and more complicated. Easier because pretense seemed pointless after internet strangers had analyzed their interactions, and more complicated because navigating a relationship under public scrutiny was hardly ideal. "Ignore him," Jamie said as they walked toward the coffee kiosk. "He's deflecting because Devin made him agree to a study schedule with designated break times." Nate smiled. "They're an odd match. But it works somehow," Jamie observed. "Like they each have what the other is missing." The late hour left only one overwhelmed barista serving desperate students. As they waited, Jamie leaned against the wall, studying Nate with an expression that made him feel simultaneously exposed and treasured. "What?" Nate asked self-consciously. "Nothing. Just thinking you look good even with finals week exhaustion." Jamie smiled warmly. "Most people look like zombies by now." "I'm pretty sure I do too," Nate objected, aware of his rumpled clothes and the dark circles he'd seen earlier. "Nope. Somehow disheveled works for you." These casual compliments still caught Nate off guard. He'd never been the recipient of such easy affection, and part of him kept waiting for Jamie to realize he could do better than an awkward coding prodigy with limited social skills. "You're thinking too hard again," Jamie nudged his shoulder. "I can practically hear the wheels turning." "Just processing," Nate admitted. "Processing what?" "This. Everything since the hackathon." Jamie's expression softened. "Having second thoughts?" "No," Nate said quickly, surprising himself with his certainty. "The opposite. I keep waiting for you to have second thoughts." The honesty hung between them as the line inched forward. "Nate," Jamie said finally, his voice quiet but firm. "I knew what I wanted the moment you accepted that coffee from me at the hackathon. Everything since has just confirmed it." Before Nate could respond, they reached the counter. Jamie ordered for both of them, somehow having memorized Nate's preferred coffee, and paid before Nate could protest. As they made their way back through the library's main hall, where students had thinned as midnight approached, Nate asked, "Do you ever wonder how different things would be if we hadn't been assigned to the same hackathon team?" "Sometimes," Jamie admitted. "But I like to think we'd have found each other anyway. I noticed you before, you know." "You did." This was news to Nate. "In advanced data visualization last semester. You asked this incredibly insightful question about ethical implications of representative sampling that made the professor actually stop and think. I wanted to talk to you after class, but you disappeared so quickly." Nate tried to reconcile the idea that Jamie, social, confident, universally liked Jamie, had noticed him before. "I didn't think anyone paid attention to my questions." "I did," Jamie said simply. "I just didn't have a good excuse to start a conversation until the hackathon." When they returned to the study room, they found it empty of their teammates. "Where'd they go?" Nate set down the coffee carrier, looking confused. Jamie picked up a note in Noah's handwriting, "Gone to find better reference materials. Back soon. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. NND. That's suspiciously vague," Nate commented. Jamie checked his watch. "And the reference desk closed an hour ago." They exchanged knowing looks. Should we be concerned? Nate asked. About Noah and Devin? I think they can handle themselves. Jamie settled back into his chair. Besides, I'm not complaining about a few minutes of quiet. The study room felt different without Noah and Devin's bickering. Nate tried returning to his algorithm's notes but found his concentration fractured by Jamie's proximity and their interrupted conversation. You were saying, Jamie prompted gently, about processing us. Nate set down his highlighter, recognizing that this conversation deserved his full attention. I've never been good at relationships. Or even friendships. I tend to get too absorbed in my projects. I've noticed, Jamie smiled. You get this little furrow between your eyebrows when you're deep in code. See? That's what I mean. You notice things about people. You understand them. I just understand systems and algorithms. You understand more than you give yourself credit for, Jamie countered. You picked up on the dynamic between Noah and Devin before I did. And you understood what I was feeling before I said anything at Half Moon Bay. Nate considered this. It was true that he'd become more attuned to emotional currents since joining their unlikely quartet. Whether that was Jamie's influence or simply the result of prolonged close quarters, he wasn't sure. I still worry, he admitted, that I'll revert to type once the pressure's off. Get lost in a project and forget important things. Forget dates or anniversaries or... Whoa, Jamie laughed softly. We've been officially together for what, a week? And you're already worrying about forgetting anniversaries? Put that way, it did sound ridiculous. Nate smiled sheepishly. I tend to catastrophize. I've noticed that too. Jamie reached across the table to take his hand. Here's the thing, I'm not expecting perfection. I'm just expecting you, brilliant mind, occasional social awkwardness, and adorable stress baking included. The simple acceptance in those words loosened something tight in Nate's chest. I really like you, you know. I know, Jamie grinned. I really like you too. Nate's phone buzzed with a text. From Noah, he reported. Don't wait up. Working through some theoretical concepts with Williams. Jamie snorted. Is that what they're calling it now? Apparently, Nate set his phone aside, feeling a mixture of amusement and curiosity about what theoretical concepts might entail. In a secluded corner of the library's fourth floor, Noah and Devin were indeed engaged with theoretical concepts, though not the academic kind. I still don't understand why you insisted we leave, Devin was saying as they settled at a small table tucked between reference stacks. We had perfectly adequate study space downstairs. Because, Noah explained patiently, Jamie and Nate needed time alone and so do we. For what purpose? Devin asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. To talk about why you've been avoiding being alone with me since the video went viral. Devin opened his mouth to deny, then closed it, reconsidering. I haven't been avoiding you. We literally live together. With two other people always present, Noah pointed out. Every time I try to get you alone, you find excuses about project work or study schedules. The accusation hung between them. Devin straightened his perfectly aligned notebook, a nervous gesture disguised as organization. The timing is challenging, he said eventually. Finals, the project launch, the unexpected publicity. Bullshit, Noah interrupted, but without heat. Those are circumstances, not reasons. What's really going on, Devin? The use of his first name rather than Williams seemed to catch Devin off guard. He looked up, meeting Noah's gaze directly for perhaps the first time in days. My father called, he admitted. He saw the video. Noah's expression shifted from challenging to concerned. And I'm guessing that didn't go well? He was confused. He knows I'm gay, that's not the issue. He just doesn't understand why I would allow myself to be portrayed in such an unprofessional manner. He's concerned about my reputation. Because of a harmless video where you caught me when I fell? Because it suggests personal entanglements that could complicate my professional trajectory. Devin's tone was formal, but Noah could hear the uncertainty beneath. And what do you think? Not your father, you. Devin was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was uncharacteristically tentative. I think I'm accustomed to approaching life with a clear plan. Steps to be taken in a specific order to achieve defined outcomes. And I'm not in the plan, Noah concluded. You're not in any plan I could have conceived, Devin agreed. You're unpredictable, disorganized, and thoroughly disruptive to my carefully structured existence. Noah flinched slightly, but Devin continued before he could respond. And yet, I find myself reorganizing my priorities to accommodate your presence. Recalculating acceptable deviations from my established path. It's disconcerting. Is that William's speak for, I like you but you scare me? Noah asked, a hint of teasing breaking through. It's William's speak for, I don't know how to integrate these feelings into my life plan, but I'm trying to figure it out. The raw honesty caught Noah by surprise. For all their charged interactions and the shift at Half Moon Bay, Devin had never been quite this direct about his feelings. My parents have certain expectations, Devin continued, his gaze dropping to his study materials. A prestigious financial career. A respectable partner with complementary social connections. A life that builds upon the Williams legacy. And I'm definitely a deviation, Noah said, no longer teasing. You're not just a deviation, Devin looked up, his expression intense. You're a complete recalculation of the route. The unexpected poetry of this statement from practical, analytical Devin made Noah briefly speechless. I don't know if I can be what your family expects, he said finally. I'm never going to be respectable in the way they define it. I know, Devin's voice was quiet. That's part of what makes this difficult. And yet I find myself increasingly unwilling to eliminate you from the equation simply because you don't fit the predetermined variables. Noah smiled despite himself. Has anyone ever told you that you have the most uniquely romantic way of expressing interest? No one has ever used romantic to describe any aspect of my communication, Devin admitted with the ghost of a smile. Well, they should. There's something oddly poetic about mathematics as a metaphor for feelings. They lapsed into silence, the late hour and emotional conversation creating an intimacy that felt both new and fragile. What about your family? Devin asked eventually. Do they have expectations about who you should be with? Noah laughed softly. My parents are artists who believe in following creative inspiration. They'd be thrilled I'm interested in someone who can balance a checkbook, given my complete inability to remember when bills are due. A low bar, Devin observed dryly. Not really. They want me to be with someone who respects my creative process but provides structure I sometimes need. Someone who sees the method in my apparent madness and values it, even when it's inconvenient. Noah leaned forward. Sound like anyone you know? The question lingered between them, weighted with possibilities. I can't promise I won't disappoint your parents, Devin said finally. I'm not spontaneous or artistically inclined. And I can't promise I'll ever fit your family's vision of a suitable partner, Noah countered. But maybe that's not what matters right now. What does matter then? That when I'm with you, even when we're arguing, I feel more like myself than with anyone else. That somehow your ridiculous schedules and color-coded systems make sense to me in a way they shouldn't. That catching me in that video wasn't an isolated incident, you've been catching me, steadying me since we met. The caffeine-fueled honesty hung in the air. Devin stared at Noah for a long moment, his usual composed expression giving way to something more vulnerable. I don't know how to do this, he admitted quietly. Relationships have always been theoretical concepts for me, variables to be accounted for later in the equation of life. There's a first time for everything, Noah said, reaching across the table to cover Devin's hand with his own. Even for prodigies like you. Devin looked down at their joined hands, then back up. I should warn you, I approach everything methodically. Including this. I wouldn't expect anything less, Noah smiled. Just promise me one thing. What's that? No relationship spreadsheets. Some things should remain unquantified. Devin's laugh was soft but genuine. I make no promises. The distance between them had somehow decreased without either noticing. In the secluded corner, surrounded by dusty reference books, Noah leaned forward. I'm going to kiss you now, he informed Devin matter-of-factly. Unless you have objections. I've prepared a comprehensive list of objections, Devin replied, his voice dropping to a whisper. But I seem to have forgotten all of them at the moment. When their lips finally met, it was neither the dramatic collision Noah might have choreographed nor the careful analysis Devin might have planned. It was simple, unscripted, and perfect in its imperfection, much like their unlikely connection itself. Back in the study room, Nate and Jamie had given up any pretense of studying. The hour was too late, their concentration too fractured by the day's events and their teammates' absence. Think they're actually working through theoretical concepts? Nate asked, making air quotes around Noah's euphemism. Knowing those two, they're probably arguing about the theoretical concept of whether they should be arguing, Jamie laughed. But I hope they're figuring things out. Devin's been weirdly distant since the video went viral. Nate nodded. Do you think it'll work between them? They're so different. Maybe that's why it will work, Jamie suggested. They challenge each other. Like us but with more drama and better outfits. The casual inclusion of them in the same category as an established couple made Nate smile. Are we less dramatic? Definitely. You process everything internally before speaking, and I'm physically incapable of holding a grudge for more than 20 minutes. True, Nate acknowledged. Though I can stress bake for hours, which is its own kind of drama. Delicious drama, Jamie corrected, reaching for Nate's hand across the study table. One of your many endearing qualities. The touch was simple but grounding, a reminder of the connection that had developed over these chaotic weeks. From reluctant teammates to accidental roommates to viral video subjects to this. Whatever this was becoming. We should try to study, Nate said half-heartedly, making no move to reclaim his hand. Finals start Monday. Probably, Jamie agreed, equally unenthusiastic. Or we could acknowledge our brains are fried and find a better use of time. Nate raised an eyebrow. Like what? In answer, Jamie stood and came around the table, pulling Nate to his feet. Like this. The kiss was gentle but assured, Jamie's hands framing Nate's face with a tenderness that made his chest ache. When they parted, Nate kept his eyes closed for a moment, savoring the sensation. Definitely better than algorithms, he murmured. Jamie laughed, the sound warm in the quiet room. I should hope so. They ended up abandoning their study materials entirely, walking hand in hand through the nearly deserted library. Outside, Stanford's campus was transformed by moonlight, familiar buildings taking on an ethereal quality. Do you think we'll still be doing this after finals? Nate asked as they crossed the main quad. After the project presentation? This specific activity or the broader category of being together? Both, I guess. Jamie squeezed his hand. I plan to be kissing you in scenic campus locations well beyond finals week, if that's what you're asking. The simple declaration settled something in Nate's chest. Whatever uncertainties the coming days held, finals, their project launch, the eventual end of their temporary living arrangement, this at least felt real and lasting. When Noah and Devin finally returned to the apartment in the early hours, they found Jamie and Nate asleep on the couch, textbooks forgotten on the coffee table, Nate's head resting on Jamie's shoulder. Neither had the heart to wake them. Disgustingly adorable, Noah whispered, pulling out his phone to capture the moment. Privacy, Kim, Devin reminded him, gently lowering the phone. But even he couldn't suppress a small smile at the peaceful tableau. In the moonlit apartment, with finals looming and their project deadline approaching, four unlikely companions found a moment of perfect stillness. A midnight confession of sorts, even for those who hadn't used words to express it.